Welcome to the Army of Love podcast, edition number 2, with no one else than David Icke. David, thank you so much for taking the time.
I'm very privileged, Mordechaï, because the first one was Marcel Messing,
yes,
who I have great respect for. So
yes.
I'm in good company.
Yes, you know each other.
It's a great line we're adding. Yeah.
And before we start, guys, we just started with the podcast. So if you like this, please do not forget to subscribe. And we'll see, well, depending on the subject, whether this video will last on YouTube or not.
Yeah, which depends where we go with it.
Let's see. Do you have your first question, or you want me to start with it?
That's a good question to start with. Well, we were talking about Marcel, so maybe it's a good idea to continue talk about Marcel, or actually, it's a bridge. As said, our last interview was with Marcel Messing, and I asked him the question about Yeshua and Jesus, because he has his own vision on that.
Of course.
And he told us that Jesus was the person on earth, and Yeshua is more like a consciousness, a field of energy. Or what's your vision on that?
Well, it's a bit different because I've been doing a lot of research recently into whether there was actually a Jesus on earth, and I've not gone into it to the level that I am now, and the evidence for it is scant, to say the least. And when you go deeper into it, you find that there was a very tight group of Roman aristocrats and royalty who used many different pseudonyms for themselves, which gave the impression that a number of different people were writing various things, when actually it was a very, very few people. And when you think of the illiteracy in those days, which was overwhelming, and the cost of publishing these things and what have you, then you can see how easy it would have been to control the narrative. And from what I've been reading, and not just from one source, from many different ones, different researchers who've come to the same conclusion, is that the Romans were fighting the Judean people, and particularly there were rebellious sects that had a belief in a Messiah that would not be a Prince of Peace, but would be a military leader for them, to lead them against the Romans. And the Romans wanted to replace that belief in a militaristic Messiah with a pacifist one that would far more conform to the Roman Empire. And when you get into it, I mean, it takes a lot of research. I'm very impressed with what these people have done. You find that all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to this group of people. You had a guy called Josephus, who is a very well-known, Jewish on one side, Roman on the other, historian. But Josephus was, it seems, a pseudonym for someone else. And he wrote the narrative, the story of the Titus Roman campaign in Judea. And then they were going to produce the Gospels, which is the foundation of Christianity. And they decided what they would do is put the Gospels, even though they were written in the same period as the Josephus narrative, and when the Titus campaign against the Judeans was over at Masada in 73 AD, I think, and the destruction of Jerusalem was at 70 AD, they were going to put the Gospels in a time context further back in the first century. So what they could do is put prophecies in the Gospels, which apparently came true, except that they were written at the same time as, or just after.
And the prophecies come from?
What had already happened, you know?
And the prophecies come from?
Well, they would say that Jesus, for instance, prophesied that the temple would fall and no stone would be laying on top of another one, that Jerusalem would fall, etc. And once those things had happened, it was easy to put the prophecies in and put them in an earlier context of time, because you were prophesying something that already happened. And they talk about, these researchers, they talk about the fact that they use a technique called typology, which is basically to take older texts, like the Jewish text, and use different characters in those texts as a blueprint for your invented characters. And that you don't have them exactly the same, but you can see the blueprint. And so they made Jesus the Jesus blueprint that of Moses. And so Moses was prophesying that someone would come out of the Israelite people and would basically lead them, and you must listen to him, I think is one of the phrases. Now, what they then did with the Gospels, it make it as if Jesus was the prophecy. And they also took the prophecies of Daniel and made it as if Jesus was fulfilling them. And it was interesting because once I was reading this and compiling it together, I then went on to Christian websites. And I was reading, you know, today, still, how they were justifying who Jesus was because he'd fulfilled all these prophecies, right? You know, Daniel and Moses. This is it. This is the fulfillment of those prophecies, and yet they'd actually been coldly, calculatedly made to appear that way by these writers. What it seems is that, like I said earlier, that a lot of these very famous kind of chroniclers and historians like Pliny the Younger and Plutarch and what have you, they were pseudonyms for different people. Like Josephus was a pseudonym for someone, and who wrote under many other names as well. And it seemed that there were all these different people writing, when actually it was a very, very tight-knit group of people who were collaborating. So, for instance, there's the famous, this is another point that needs emphasizing, is that the Titus military campaign against the Judeans, which ended at Masada in 73 AD, not only did just Jesus in the Gospels appear at all the places where key things happened in the military campaign of Titus, but they happen in the same order. And there's one that's highlighted. I mean, they're all highlighted. It's very impressive research. Is the fishers of men. So it's said in the Gospels that Jesus went to the Sea of Galilee, particular place, and said to these fishermen, "Follow me, I'll make you fishers of men." Well, in another gospel, it says, "I'll make you catchers of men," the phrase says. Well, at that point, the Romans had had a battle on the Sea of Galilee with what they would perceive to be Jewish rebels, and they upturned their boats, and they were all in the water. The Jews were in the water, and Josephus describes this in his narrative of that campaign as like they were trying to swim to the shore, or in desperation they were actually swimming towards the Romans looking for help, and they were getting cut to pieces and killed, and it was described by Josephus as they were like stabbing them in the water with spears, and it was kind of like fishing for men, right? And it's clear that basically the Gospels written by Roman sources, remember what took it on was the Roman Church, and what seems to be really the first pope. That said there was one or two before him, but that's very, very questionable. The first pope was a guy called Clement, and he was a Flavian, and this is the Flavian dynasty of Vespasian, Titus, and the other brother, Domitian, I think they call him, and they were three Caesars from the Flavian dynasty in this whole period when all this was going on, and it's clear that they were basically taking the piss. They had this brutal campaign against the Judeans, and then they were putting it in a context where they were literally taking the piss. But you'd only know that if you knew the background, and only a small number of people did. And then when you play it forward, that has become a global religion. And I'm just about to read another book, actually. I can't get it to me now. I'm going to see it when I get home. And it's a book about looking at the Jewish stories, like what we would call today the Old Testament stories, and how these characters cannot be justified in history, right? So then you take what I've just said about the New Testament and the creation of Christianity, because what they set out to do was not replace Judaism and those stories, but to make Christianity seem like the next stage of them, right? Which is why they made them fit, not in exactly the way. And you also see why the Old Testament God is this brutal, bloodthirsty tyrant, but the Christian God in the New Testament, same Bible, is much more pacific. What's the word? Pacifistic.
Pacifistic, yes.
That's the one. and you can see the difference, because when I was a kid, I looked at these two gods and I thought they can't be the same bloke. And you can see why, because the Romans wanted a pacifist type religion that would, well, it didn't turn out that way longer term, but at the time that's what they wanted. And when I read this book, and it fits without even turning the first page, it fits with the way I've been seeing things. You invent the characters to create that religion. You then invent the characters to create the next stage of that religion. And now you've got some ability to create a division between the two anyway. And then you come to Islam. And you know, just as so many characters in Christianity are the same characters as in Judaism, so many characters in Islam are the same characters that you find in Christianity and Judaism. And it's like it was another stage of this story. I mean, you know, Islam, a lot of people don't realize Islam believes in Abrahamic religions, but believes in Jesus, in Mother Mary, in King David, etc. All these things. And it's like Jesus was a prophet, but Muhammad was the latest one. You know, and what they've created, if you look at it, is these group divisions where Islam faces Christianity and Islam faces Judaism, and Judaism to an extent, although the Christian Zionist part of it is very fused. And the other thing is that when you read the Gospels, written by the Romans, I would suggest, the Jesus comments are much more condemnatory of Jews than Romans.
Can you repeat that?
The comments of Jesus put into the mouth of Jesus, it condemns Jews more than it condemns Romans. And you've got this situation where, and I think this was written exactly for that, because what they wanted to do was not only create this pacifist Messiah, but blame the Jews for killing him. I mean, all the way through history, what have you had? So many people in the Christian community over the centuries have said, the Jews, they killed Jesus. They killed the Messiah, right? Well, what you've got is this scene where Pontius Pilate is offering this a choice between Jesus and this guy who was in jail. Barabbas, was it? Which one should I basically crucify? And the crowd was shouting, release Barabbas, right? And then Pilate says, well, what is this man, Jesus, guilty of? And the crowd came back, crucify him. And so it's like the Jews got a bad rap, right, for killing Jesus when the stories were invented. It would very strongly appear. And that's gone all the way through history. And it's like, once a belief system takes hold, it's very, very difficult to break it. And so you've got people who follow the Jewish religion who are just mesmerized by it. You have people follow Christianity and Islam, are absolutely mesmerized by it. I mean, they get on their knees in Islam 5 times a day to face the black cube of Mecca. I mean, and it's I've described religion since way back as the greatest form of mind control ever invented. And it is because once you have this belief system, it repels all borders. You know, anything outside of it, all that possibility and potential insight and discovery, you don't go there because it would put your belief system at risk. And also what you get is this thing where people say it's the occult, right? It's the occult. Anything that's like esoteric is the occult to these religious fanatics, when the occult just means hidden. The word just means hidden. It's hidden knowledge, and it can be used for good and it can be used for ill, but it's just knowledge. But of course, if you think it's the occult, by definition, you ain't going to go there. You ain't going to see if it's got any relevance to you. You're going to condemn it by reflex action. So religion is a phenomenal vehicle for perceptual control, which means behavior control, and divide and rule. My God.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny. You told me about a guy who was researching the life of Jesus,
Yes.
and he devoted his whole life to prove that Jesus hadn't existed. And then he found out that he did exist, and he couldn't deny the existence anymore. And then he got to he's gotten
became
to
very
believe.
religious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but many people I've come across in this research have gone the other way.
Yeah. Exactly.
They've started out as evangelical believers and then realized that the evidence is not there to support it. So, yeah, the thing is, you know, if someone has appeared claiming to be the Messiah, performing miracles, water into wine, walking on water, raising people from the dead. And interestingly, also, you know, and I'll come to that in a second, you then have this furore he caused in the religious establishment of Jerusalem and whatever. And then he's crucified and rose from the dead after 3 days. You'd think someone would mention it. But in that whole period, they don't. Outside the Gospels and Josephus, it's not there. Why? It makes no sense. And this is the other thing. The Roman Empire worshipped many different gods, and they had common themes. Like in the years before Jesus was said to appear, there was a widespread worshipping, not just in the Roman Empire, of a god called Mithra. And Mithra was supposed to be born on December the 25th. And all these different attributes given to Jesus and things that happened to Jesus, rising from the dead and all that stuff, they're all in the Mithra story. I mean, virtually every one. And then you start playing it out into other gods, and you see this common theme in the pre-Christian world of the dying, resurrected God and all the different attributes. There's one called Dionysus, who was said to be famous for turning water into wine, for instance. So you see all these different things. And these were all known to these writers of the Gospels. And basically what they did is they took the Titus campaign as the backbone, and then they brought in all these other things which they were familiar with to create this narrative. And this is why, you know, you can look around the pre-Christian world and see all these gods that kind of mirror what happened with Jesus, or what's claimed to have happened with Jesus. So the thing, it's real simple. People should make up their mind what they want to believe. But if you are not prepared to go into areas that are at odds with your belief system, then you're denying yourself enormous potential swathes of understanding and knowledge. You might go there and you might say, no, I'm sticking with my belief system, thank you, but I've seen it now. But if you don't go there at all, then basically what you're doing is having your belief system given to you. I mean, if you look at where most Christians, Muslims and Hindus come from, they come from Hindu, Christian and Muslim families. And that tells you something. It tells you that they're not reaching their own conclusions, that that's all they've heard all their lives. And what did the Nazis say? You know, give me the child until the age of 7, and basically keep telling the lie, make the lie big, and they'll believe it through repetition. And so it's a lot of these people who have started out as evangelical Christians. I quote one in the book that I'm writing now, and his father was like a clergyman, and he was brought up in this evangelical Christian kind of environment, and so what you're doing from that point of view is you're deprogramming yourself from a belief system which you absolutely did not question, and then when you do question it, the house of cards comes down. And you know, it's not just religion, it's all belief systems in the end. Because you know, my attitude is, this is how I see things at this moment, but in the light of new information, I'll go anywhere the information takes me. So when I say, you know, this is how I see it, it's how I see it, but if other information comes along, I'll go with that. It's a holding position, if you like. It's not a solidified, unquestionable belief. And that's what religions are. But like I say, it's not just what my father used to call bricks and mortar religion. It's political belief systems. Left, right, even centre, it's another one. It's cultural belief systems. It's all of these different solidified, unquestionable beliefs. They're prisoners of the mind. And all I'm saying is just put the walls down a bit, have a look at other possibilities, and then make your own mind up. But what's happening at the moment? I mean, if you think about it, the worst kind of censorship is self-censorship, because there's no debate. You know, if someone is cancelled and they're a public figure, then there's some kind of to and fro, there's some kind of debate goes on. Self-censorship. I mean, if I'd have said, for instance, before I agreed to come to the Netherlands for that the event in Amsterdam, if I'd have said, I'm not going, that's self-censorship. There would have been no debate, there'd have been no to and fro, nothing. And that's what self-censorship is. And what they're trying to do all the time is intimidate people to self-censor, because they're asking, what are the consequences for me of not doing that, of saying what I think. And if you think about religion and the religious belief system in general, and for me, orthodox science is a religion. The human-caused climate change hoax is a religion. They're all belief systems that can't be questioned. What you're doing is you're self-censoring. So people that believe in human-caused climate change won't look at the information that says, actually, it's not happening. You know, and I'm sure there are people who say it's not happening who won't look at any evidence that it is. You've got to give yourself a chance to gather information and then conclude, not conclude before you've gathered information, which is what religions do.
Talking about religions, you had this outstanding interview with Jensen, with Robert.
Yeah.
Talking about Israel. He actually called the video Israel, 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 and he has a lot of views. And I was wondering for many days, because as you know, with my Jewish background, I stood up and spoke out, and I was very surprised about the role that an organization as CIDI plays in this whole, and CJO, which is like another small Jewish organization that all kind of contribute to this ban. Because to my opinion, you are not banned by the Dutch politicians, you are basically banned by an organization as CIDI, with their control. I was very happy with the video because I finally had an answer to many questions. I think many people had, because you spoke for more than 2 hours about what you believe is like the past of Israel. And it's all factual based. You can actually look it all up. And I started looking into the names that you mentioned. I was like, wow. And I even believe you didn't even prepare for the whole
I didn't
story.
know. No, I didn't. I just started talking.
I was very impressed. After watching that video, I thought, okay, so when we have the interview, we don't even have to go into the whole subject of Israel anymore. But there was still a question like, is this the story that an organization such as CD is so afraid of? Or is there more, that they are so into total panic of you coming to the Netherlands? Or is this the story that you told Robert Jensen about Israel?
Well, you see, this is the strange thing, Mordechaï, is I can't work out why they are so obsessed with me not stepping foot on the European mainland, because I can do these things by the internet, at least for now. But they seem obsessed. Maybe, you know, I think, you know, maybe they followed the city diktat, which is basically what it was, and then found themselves in a hole, and then decided they would keep digging.
But they couldn't get out of.
It seems extraordinary that Geert Wilders, who's supposed to be this hero of the right, and his minister from his party would extend the ban. I mean, they had such an opportunity of saying, "Hey, look, we believe in freedom of speech." They're called the Party for Freedom, aren't they? And they had the opportunity, but they didn't take it. I mean, what?
Do you remember in 2009 that Wilders was traveling to the UK to show a movie, Fitna, and he was banned from the UK? That was in February 2009. He went to court, and in October 2009 they released his ban, and he was allowed into the UK to show his movie, which was supposed to be anti-Islamic. And that same guy, Wilders, who was then screaming about the Constitution of Human Rights, Article number 10, about the freedom of speech, is now keeping your ban alive.
Yeah.
Maybe it's payback time.
It is extraordinary, but you know, I see this all the time. I'm sure you do. Is that when you have a belief system which will solidify into a side against another belief system that solidifies into a side, you will stand for things when they suit you, and you will go against them when they don't. So what we've got now is the right, the so-called alternative media, which has become the Christian right in America and wider afield. They've been going on and on and on, and so have I. I'm not the Christian right, but I've been going on about it too. The way the woke culture is imposing its will on people's lives. You know, I have no problem if someone wants to identify as transgender. They can identify as an igloo for all I care. It's none of my business. But when they tell me I must address them in ways that I don't think are right, then that's another thing. And even worse, when you're losing your job because you're doing it, or you're not even saying the wrong pronouns or whatever. You just won't address them or look at them in the same light as they look at themselves. And that's your right, just as they have a right to identify as they choose. Other people have a right not to agree with them. So the right were like, whoa, libs of TikTok and all these people on X and stuff. It's like, oh, it's outrageous, freedom of speech. And now Trump's going. The same people are justifying the deletion of freedom of speech and due process that people are being denied in America. And it's okay. And it's like, do you never look in the mirror, either of you? Freedom is freedom. It doesn't come with a belief system. But that's the way they work, and that's the way they think. So you had a situation where the fake royals, as I would call them, in Saudi Arabia, this psychopath, Salman, Mohammed bin Salman, and these guys in Qatar and the UAE, they were like condemned. You know, when Salman had this journalist Khashoggi basically sawn up in an horrific murder, it was like, this is outrageous, the Saudis. And now Trump does deals with them that are all part of the agenda, more and more weapons, more and more AI. It's fine, and it's a victory, and no, it's not. It's not. They're still psychopaths, the people that run those countries, just as we have a psychopath running Israel. And it's calling them out. And this is the other thing, is that, you know, I had someone the other day say to me, well, at least Trump's doing some good things. He cares about children. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he's going to stop child trafficking. Well, I can say I'm going to stop child trafficking. Doesn't mean I'm going to. I'm just saying it. It's easy. It's the vocal cords moving. But then I said to them, so he cares about children? Yeah. So does he not care about the children in Gaza then? Where he's supplying the weapons for that to happen. It's like, what I see is the same mentality expressing itself apparently in different ways, but the same mentality is there. So a Christian will look to Jesus as their savior. An Orthodox Jew will see their heroes as their savior. Islam will have its savior, Allah or whatever. And it's a mentality. And it's like they're investing this massive form of mind control, hope, in their savior. I know things are absolutely shite in my life and everyone around me, but at least when I go, Jesus is my savior because I believe in him. Or some Jewish hero or some Islamic hero is my savior. How is that different from Trump is my savior? Because what they're doing with Trump, this so-called MAGA right, is investing their hope in Trump. They look at the world, they look at the way the economy is going, the way their lives are going, and they think, well, at least we've got Trump. He's going to do something. And if you look at what you're doing, and unfortunately I do that, I say unfortunately, I wouldn't have it any other way, but you know, it would make my life easier. When you're challenging saviors, whoever they are, whatever form they take, what you're actually doing is challenging their hope. And that's why they react against you so vehemently. Because what they're saying to you is, shut up, don't want to hear it. Because if what you say is true, my saviour's a fraud or fraudulent.
It will all fall apart.
Yeah, it all falls apart. But my view, I can say what I think, is it has to. Because if we don't stop giving our power away to saviors, group power given away to saviors, and start realizing that we are the answer, if only we would see it, then nothing's going to change. There was someone in this country recently, and he's a decent bloke. I have no problem with him. But he said people should join the Reform Party. which is the third party, is Nigel Farage's party in this country, because there's never going to be an uprising of the people. So we have to get away with what we can, and that's the reform's the best thing at the moment, right? And to be fair, he's saying, join reform and change it because there's things wrong with it. But the point is that's just it's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The Titanic's going down, and you're rearranging the deck chairs. You're putting Farage in the deck chair instead of Starmer, and you're putting Trump in the deck chair instead of Biden, and it ain't gonna. What's the Titanic gonna do? It's gonna go on going under. What you have to do is breach the hole, cover the hole in the Titanic, and what is the hole? And this comes to a point I've been making for decades and decades. I'm not interested in solutions, because solutions constantly lead to problems in search of more solutions. For me, you look at the cause of the problem, because if you remove the cause of the problem has to disappear. And the cause of the problem is humanity has allowed its perceptions to be hijacked. And not only that, I said years ago, back in the 1990s, the human race has out-sheeped the sheep, because at least the sheep need a sheepdog to keep them in line. We keep ourselves in line. The sheep herd the sheep. And you see this with belief systems. If your belief system's different to me, then I'm antagonistic towards you, or I'm going to condemn you for whatever reason. If you have a different belief system to me, whether it's political, whether it's religious, whatever. And if you don't solve the cause of the problem, which is the myopia of human perception and myopia of human self-identity, nothing's going to change. Why? You can say that with absolute certainty, because that's how we got here. What was it, Einstein, who talked about words to the effect of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, is a definition of insanity, basically. And it is, but that's what we're doing all the time. And people might ask themselves, why, if you look at what we call history, I think a lot more to know about that, the few have always controlled the many. Always. Why is that? Because the many have always given their power to the few, through intimidation or through worship. And it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint that has had so many different expressions, and the different expressions make you think, oh yeah, well, this is different. No. Bring it down to its functional structure. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And this is why politics is a religion, and climate change is a religion, and science is a religion, and religion is a religion.
What gives you hope?
Well, I don't have hope. I don't have hope.
Why not?
People call, some people refer to hope as hopium. And I think that's what it is. Because hope, if you look at it, is always in the future. Hope is never now. And hope is like sitting on a carousel horse expecting to catch the one in front. The game's rigged, it ain't gonna happen. So, it's like politicians are always saying, look, take shit now, because we'll have hope that in the future it's gonna get better. And they say it all the time. And hope is a massive vehicle for control, because you can put your resistance on hold in the belief that the hope you hope that a better world is coming. Or I hope the world's better for me kids. Well, it ain't going to be like that, mate, unless you get your ass detached from the sofa. It ain't going to happen, right? So I don't hope. I just work towards circulating information, and then people make of it what they will.
What keeps you standing?
Keeps me?
Keeps you going on? Keeps you...
Ooh, lots of things. First of all, I don't think I could not. One of the things that I found very, very difficult to get my head round over the years, I've been doing this now, coming into my 36th year, is people that have come, they've been flavour of the month for a short time, and then they've gone. And it's like, where's he gone? Where's he gone? Oh, it was too hot in the kitchen. Well, what do you expect? You're challenging a whole system. You're challenging all these belief systems. What do you expect? Round of applause? It could happen. So I've never understood that, because once you realise what's happening and where it's meant to go, you walk away. How do you sleep at night? You know, so I live my life totally focused on getting out the information. Not just getting out the information, but uncovering it to get it out, you know. Because one of the things I've seen with this so-called alternative media, which I say has been hijacked since COVID, particularly since COVID, is they go so far and then stop. So they've stopped, like the whole MAGA thing, has stopped at Trump's the saviour and Trump's the answer. It's stopped. And now I'm hearing that the deep state, which the alternative media once knew was two parties, what do they used to say in America? Their wings on the same bird. Now, the deep state is the Democrats. What? Where did that come from? It's all of them. And so, you've got this belief system which calls itself awake, which is just in a slightly bigger prison than the rest of the population. It knows there's a scam going on, but that's all. That's as far as it's gone. And there's so much to know to get a grasp on what's going on and where it's coming from. And if ever you stop and say, I got it now, I got it. Well, you might have this bit, but that bit and that bit, you haven't got. So how about having a look at that? Oh no, can't do that. I'd have to leave MAGA and the Trump. Well, leave it then. I'd have to leave me Christian beliefs. Okay, well, leave it then. Just go in search of what there is to uncover. Don't deny yourself that by defending your belief system from all borders. Belief systems are meant to be boarded. They're meant to be overturned, because if you look at, for instance, how little of infinite reality we can actually see, it's a unbelievably tiny band of frequency which this body, biological computer, as I refer to it, can actually decode. It's tiny. The whole of infinity is in the space that we're sitting in, but we're only aware of a tiny band of it. Now, from that perspective, how can you have a belief system that's unquestionable? It's crazy. If you realise that, then you know there's an infinity more to know, as opposed to the tiny smear of reality that you're aware of. So always there's more to know, but I don't see that. Belief systems stop that expansion of moving deeper and deeper and deeper into the infinity of knowledge. Because if I go there, I'm not a Christian anymore. If I go there, I'm not Muslim anymore. If I go there, I'm not a Hindu anymore. What will my mother say?
Ever questioning.
Yeah.
Did you ever have the feeling during the COVID area that we were almost there? That we were almost like tipping?
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things, Mordechaï, that kind of happened as a result of that. And again, Pew was the biggest one. They talk about Q, QAnon. It was Pew that was the biggest one, which is
Pew?
that when the restrictions
who
were.
Pew is?
Pew is like a relief.
Yeah, no, Pew is like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Relief.
Pew.
Yeah,
Pew.
right,
Okay.
right,
Yes.
So
Pew. We say in Dutch.
yeah, well that's what that's what it was. Not totally, but to a large extent. You reached this point where there was this reaction against the restrictions, the fascist restrictions. We had 100,000 or more people marching through London in the end. The police were standing on the side of the road watching us go past, nothing they could do. And it's like, have you seen the symbolism of this? And what was happening is people were coming together and were focusing on a common threat, putting other things aside. And you did think at that point, we got a bloody chance here. But then Pew came, which was, they've taken the restrictions off. It's over now. Oh, Pew. And everyone went back to where they were before.
Did you expect that to happen? I didn't, actually.
Some of them, yeah, because it always does. But on the scale it happened, no.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But I think also a lot of the stuff also relates to this jab. I know most of the people on the protest wouldn't have been jabbed, but one of the big effects of this jab is changing personality. Yeah, it's made people more docile in the sense of acceptance of things, rather than this energy that was there in the protests.
Do you think that was part of the chemicals that they injected?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think, Ray Kurzweil at Google said many years ago, this so-called futurist guy, who Bill Gates loves him, so that's how bad he is. He said that by 2030, humans would start to be connected to artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence would be thinking and everything for humans, rather than humans. Well, it's already happening, and part of the way it's happening is through this jab. I mean, it's one of the things I've focused on since the jab came out, which is what's happening in the blood of people, whereby you can see under electron microscope these systems, nanosystems being self-constructed, like almost like they have, if they don't have, like a form of consciousness, at least they have a pre-programmed system which leads them to build these structures in the blood. It's extraordinary to see.
Have you seen them yourself?
Yeah, I've seen them, yeah. And it's, for me, what's happening is, we're interacting with a field of consciousness awareness. And this is being overridden by a technologically generated electromagnetic field designed to override that. So we start interacting with the technological field instead of interacting with beyond it. And so you've got all these towers going up, all in towns and cities everywhere. But if you're going to create an electromagnetic field that covers the whole planet, towers are only going to be part of it. So we've got these low orbit satellites going up, like tens of thousands of them have been given permission already. Leading the way is Elon Musk and, as a front man, but leading the way is SpaceX. And now Jeff Bezos is coming up with his version of it as well. And for me, what we're looking at is a hive mind being created, whereby information is broadcast through this electromagnetic field. I mean, people think that's fantastic. Well, hold on a minute. How do you think your telly works and everything? Your radio works. It works through a field of information carried electromagnetically, which the receiver receives, decodes, and you see the bloody result on the screen. I mean, you've got a Wi-Fi field. What is the Wi-Fi field? It's radiation, and it's encoded with information. And then the computer decodes that information into what you see on the field, on the screen, in a totally different form to how it appears in the field. And so electromagnetic fields carry information. And I've in the book I'm just in the process of completing, I quote some Chinese research where they're even showing that you don't need a receiver in the body or the brain to receive information from this electromagnetic field. It will happen anyway.
Where? It has to be manifested somewhere.
Well, the field has to be manifested. Mm-hmm. But what they found, they've done research, for instance, on with mice, and that's only what they let you see in the public arena, by the way. And they've broadcast information, instructions through the field, and the mice have responded. There's nothing in the mice to pick up the field. It's happened anyway. But if you've got something in the body designed to pick up that information, to receive that information, and to amplify that information, as in amplifying the electromagnetic field impact on the body, that's what's been in these COVID fake vaccines, then you magnify that even greater in terms of being able to impact upon the perceptions, thoughts, and behavior of the population. And you know, one of the ways that people are manipulated is to limit their sense of the possible. So if you believe that this is the cutting edge of technology, when people like me come along and say, actually, no, this is how they're doing it, you go, oh, it's not possible, mate, don't be ridiculous. It's far out, that's sci-fi, right? Yeah, but was it that guy said famously, don't let the limits of your own mind be the limits of possibility, because they're not the same thing. And so the way that they limit your sense of the possible is by putting out, for instance, fake cutting edges. So you have Neuralink with Elon Musk, and they're saying, what you've got to do is we've got to take a bit of the skull away, and then we have a thing round your ear, and that goes in, and a probe goes in your brain. And people go, I ain't having that done, right? But that, oh well, you know that Elon Musk, he's trying to, you know, connect people to computers and stuff. It's already happening. It's happening through the jab. It's not being done by taking a bit of the skull away. That's a.
So that's a stretch, and then.
It's nano. It's nanotechnology.
What's happening is just a few. Like,
but
is it only this?
But I'll tell you an interesting point on that score. I watched an interview with Elon Musk, and someone put that to him. They said, well, yeah, but how many people are going to want a bit of the skull taken away? And then he said, some years ago now, but you might not have to do it that way. Maybe you could go in through the veins.
Oh, really?
He said that.
Oh, phew.
And that's
Exactly.
that's what the COVID vaccine, and that's why they want to expand the COVID fake technique. It's not a vaccine by previous criteria, to all these other vaccines. So 2 days into Trump's latest presidency, you had Larry Ellison come on in the White House press conference, and Sam Altman of OpenAI, Larry Ellison of Oracle. who did this presentation about this up to $500 billion investment in AI. Okay, that's all fits the thing. But then Ellison started talking about an mRNA vaccine, fake vaccine, to cure cancer, right? Yes. Now, how many cancers, and what they call turbo cancers, have gone through the roof since the COVID fake vaccine came in? So you create the problem and then you offer the solution, which is to expand the problem. So this stuff, and now what they're doing, of course, is saying we're going to use this stuff for chickens and cattle, and then you eat the stuff, and there you go. And
so you're a vegetarian?
No, I'm not. I was for a very long time. I might be again. But then again, you, I mean, it's in the crops too. So you, what you do is you say, well, this stuff is coming from all angles. What is the answer to it? And this is where the understanding of the nature of reality is so vital, and it's why they don't want people to know it. In the quantum realm, it's just potentiality, possibility. The realm below what they call the atom. And we're interacting with that realm all the time. We're interacting with it through the energetic field we are projecting, which we call perception. So it's been well known for a long, long time now in mainstream science that when we think and emotionally react, we're creating frequencies. We're generating frequencies. And the frequencies relate to the nature of the thought and the nature of the emotion. And together, they create a field which we call our perceptual, I'll call it our perceptual field. And that's interacting with the quantum realm all the time. And it's rearranging the quantum realm to reflect the perception. And it's not just the conscious perception. 95% of human behavior is said to come from the subconscious. It's the conscious and subconscious perception. All the crap that we take on and push back into the subconscious, don't want to talk about it, all that is interacting with this quantum realm. And it's manifesting in what we call the physical realm, just a holographic realm, as a mirror of those perceptions. So if you, and this is the point, these guys know that. That's why they use it knowingly, and why they are billionaires and other people aren't. Not that I want to be a billionaire, but what they can do is manifest their desire by understanding the process of manifestation. And so they'll kind of poo-poo any idea in the public arena, but they are using it. They're doing it.
So is that where the solution is for us?
Yeah,
as well?
Because this is the point, Mordechaï. I've been saying for all this time, the foundation of the conspiracy is control of perception, right? So perception leads to behavior. Now the question, what leads to perception? Information. So they want to control information to dictate perception. What they want to do with the fusion of AI and humans is to have the perceptions coming direct without any need to manipulate information anymore. Because once they've got your perception, they've got your interaction with the quantum realm, they've got your life. So if you are, for instance, someone that believes that they're little me and have no power, then you'll live a life of little me with no power. If you believe, I mean, how many times do you hear people say this over the years? Oh, I thought things were going all right, but you'll never guess what's happened. It's happened again. And you go, yeah, but why does that happen to you and not him or her? Why does that happen to him or her and not you? Because you're all either slightly or massively coming from a different perceptual state, and therefore you are manifesting your life. So if you have a belief system that is limited, then your life will be limited. And it will be limited not because people are manipulating it to be limited, but they are manipulating through you to make it limited. So if they can get you to believe you've got no power, you've got to give it away to politicians or monarchs before that, got to give it away to AI technocrats, then you'll manifest that reality. So this is what I say is happening. And I'm getting more and more convinced of this, is that they are manipulating our perception of reality so that we manifest what they want. They are manifesting their prison dystopia via us. Because they have this thing they call preemptive programming, where they have all these Hollywood movies and TV series about dystopia and technological control and AI control, and they're all out there. Well, that's all going in the subconscious mind on purpose. They know exactly what they're doing. And we're manifesting it. We're making it happen. This is why I keep saying in the books, this doesn't have to happen. This is the plan, but it doesn't have to happen. And in the end, again, if we come round to the jab and what we're talking about and health and stuff, if we're manifesting our reality and our experienced reality through this perceptual interaction with the quantum realm, then we're manifesting our health or ill health in the same way. How can it be that you give someone a placebo pill and it heals them when it's nothing except sugar or whatever? How can that be? Because their mind has done it because their perceptions are that it works. And I remember a kind of alternative healer, a friend of mine, I've lost touch with him now, but he said to me once, I don't know if I'm healing people or they're healing because they believe I am. Yes. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's this whole, if you look at the education system, from the earliest age right through to university, if you go to university, it's a perceptual program. It's your perceptions for life being delivered. Then you've got the media who are basically confirming those perceptions in the way they report the world. You've got science that is doing the same. Academia doing the same. And then you've got all the religions doing the same. And they're all offering a sense of limitation, a sense of I can't, and a sense of subordination. So if you look at the religions, if you say I am an expression of the infinite, that's blasphemy. That's blaspheming. That's blasphemy. You can't say that. Well, why can't you say that? Well, because we want the people to think they're down here and he's up there. That's why. I can't be an expression of the infinite. I have to be subordinate to the infinite and do what this bloke in a frock tells me he wants, in whatever form that may take. So it's all about subordination. It's all about someone up there and us down here. It might be a politician, it might be a president, it might be a technocrat, or it might be a god, or it might be a deity, but they're up there and we're down here. And that dynamic, what have I just described? Human history. The same dynamic has gone on throughout human history of the few controlling the many, because the perceptions of the many is that that's how it is. And if they believe that's how it is, that's how it will be.
I have a question for you about AI.
Yeah?
People are adding AI to people, to human beings, and intelligence to make them superhumans. And are we currently using our full potential, do you think? But if not, would we be able to equal or overrule these created superhumans if we would really use our fullest potential? What do you think?
Well, if we tap into that truly infinite level of awareness, then AI is the Stone Age, because we don't need any of it. We don't need any of it. But what is AI? It's processing information very quickly, and you've got the brain, which doesn't process information on anything like the potential it has. But, you know, this is a whole new area, this. For me, this reality is a trap. It's a trap for consciousness. It's like a fly trap. It's like a simulated reality. It's like a fly trap. And the human body has been created as a limiter of perception. So one of the limits is that the human visual range is ridiculously small. I mean, we can hardly see anything as a visual reality, but we think we can see everything. You say to people, can you see everything in the space you're looking at? They say, of course I can. Well, no, you can't. You're only seeing a narrow band of frequency, like channel 1. And that's not an accident for me, because if we had a wider range of visual acuity, we would see where the real controllers are.
How do you know?
In another dimension of reality, and we'd realize what the game is. But because we can't, we don't.
How do you know we can't? Because you can't.
Well, it's the body vehicle that is designed specifically, I would say anyway, to only see that narrow band of frequency, because that's control. I mean, if you want to control consciousness, incarnate consciousness, you don't want to give it more information than is necessary for it to serve your interests. You don't want to go any further. So what you can do is go further through consciousness. And for me, you know, I've done enormous amounts of research in the last, well, over many, many years now, into near-death experiences and what have you. And also into those people, they're much rarer. But what they say is very compelling in its common themes, who say they can remember the pre-incarnation preparation for coming here. First of all, this other dimension of quote soul, what people call the astral, has a very technological feel about it, which is surprising because you think, oh, it's all spiritual. Doesn't have to be. And it just has to be on a different frequency wavelength to this world. That's all. That's why we can't see it. But they talk about the fine detail in which the preparation is made about what the life is going to be, because you know the great control system in this afterlife dimension, not the infinite afterlife, the afterlife within this simulation, is convincing consciousness that it has to keep coming back here to learn lessons, to evolve. I mean, that's the big selling point. And most people buy it, and then they come back, and they come back in another personality, you know. So I mean, I have to laugh. You know, you could have someone like Alex Jones. It's the deep state. They could come back and say that anyone that says there's a conspiracy is ridiculous, right? Just another personality. And so the next question I had was, how did they do it? And it seems to me that what's running through the body, which is a biological computer. See, this is the thing. We think the biological, by definition, is natural, and the technological is not natural. How do we know that? What have we got to compare the biological to something that is absolutely unimpeachable, unquestionably natural, to say the biological is natural? We don't. And I can tell you that from researching this over the years, that these guys don't think or don't treat the biological as natural. They treat it as a form of technology. And so what they're doing, what they've done is create this body to interact with this simulation. Like a computer interacting with Wi-Fi, it's exactly the same principle. But I say that there's a program running through it. And that program, if left to its own devices without the intervention and the overriding of consciousness, will control your life from cradle to grave. And you know, you have this thing they call synchronicity. I think there's two types. I think there's two types of lots of things. There's the program type, and then there's the consciousness type. So you can have synchronicity where consciousness is attracted to consciousness. And you can have synchronicity, which is the program interacting with another program. Oh my God, what's the chances of that? Well, if there's two programs programmed to interact, then they'll interact. And you can, so it's like almost like non-player characters in a computer game. But what can override that is consciousness. You can override it. You can override the program, and you can listen to the program in many ways. You know, when you sit quietly and you just take a step back, you can observe the chatter in your mind. Oh, you know, she said to me and I said to her, and if she said this to me, that's what I'd say to her, and all this stuff going on. So what is it that's observing the chatter? Well, that's consciousness. What is the chatter? That's the program. And so it seems to me that this COVID jab is part of its consequence is to make it more difficult to override the program. You can still do it, but it makes it more difficult. People become much more program controlled as a result of this. It's one of the consequences, I think. And so you might have people who had a bit of consciousness and did things a bit differently, and then suddenly they have the jab and they're not the same as they were before. And I've read a lot of stuff since COVID, the jab came out, about healers, energy healers, and who've had clients before they were jabbed. And why they would be jabbed if they go to energy, please. But anyway, and they've worked with them afterwards, and they say they're not the same people. Not just not the same people. They're not the same energetic field. Something's changed, and they are seeking to make it as difficult as they can for consciousness to override the program. And what is the fusion of AI and humans? It's to take that to a whole new level of excluding consciousness from the game. And so I think that, and see, what you then have is what we call death. Now, death is the death of the body. Now, if the body is constantly decoding the matrix into this reality we experience, I think there's so much truth in those Matrix movies in the way it was portrayed. Then once the body ceases to function, it will cease to decode the matrix. You know, if you have a computer decoding Wi-Fi and you've got the internet, and then the screen goes black, and we say, my computer's dead. Because it ceases to function and it ceases to decode the Wi-Fi. So you cease to have the delivery on the screen in a completely different form of the Wi-Fi field. When the body ceases to function, it ceases to deliver to consciousness this illusion of a physical world. And suddenly you find yourself in another reality with a completely different laws of physics and all the rest of it. It's what near-death experiences talk about. And invariably what happens is they see religious heroes. They might see Jesus if they're a Christian, etc., etc. They might see loved ones or whatever, which, as I say in the books, I don't think that's what they're seeing, but that's what they believe they're seeing. And they're taken up the tunnel or to the light, whichever it is. Because in this reality, we're told that to relate God, spirituality to the light, and we head up to the light. And we get on the wheel of samsara, as the Buddhists call it, and back in here in another form. In the belief that we have to pay back our karma to evolve. And people have asked me so many times, this karma, yeah, why don't the elite have karma? You know why? Because there isn't such a thing. There's just creating your own reality by your perception of reality. That's what there is. And if your perception is that you have to keep coming back to pay back your karma, then that is what you will do. And if you realize it's a scam, then you'll be out of here and back into infinity.
That sounds very hopeful.
Yeah.
I was about to say exactly the same. It's really nice.
Change your perceptions, not least of yourself and self-identity. Change your life. That's what they don't want people to know. They want people to think it's real complex and real complicated. And all these things that
keeps coming back, huh? This is the third time this weekend that we're coming back to. She always says, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yes.
No.
As soon as it gets complicated, we're off the chart.
Yeah.
Truth is always simple.
You look at the untruth that's perpetuated by the media, by politicians, by scientists, by academics, etc. It's always complicated because they can't see the simple. They can only see the complex. And they believe, scientists and academics and stuff, that for something to be true, it's got to be complicated.
Yeah, yeah.
The opposite is the opposite is the case, and so our perceptions of reality create reality. Change your perceptions, change your reality, and that's what they don't want us to know. They're using it so that they can create their reality, which is very different to ours, but they don't want us to know it, because then the game is over.
We have just a few more minutes. Is there anything you want to ask, or is there anything you want to add to this?
I have one more small question, actually. What can people do themselves hearing this story when it comes down to simplicity?
Well, what they need to do, I would say, is change their perception of their self, i.e. change their self-identity. So they don't self-identify as a human, and all the labels of a human that they're given to them and give to themselves, but realize that they are just experiences, brief experiences, and the real I is consciousness. It's consciousness that leaves the body. It's consciousness that goes beyond the simulation into the infinity of forever. That's the true I. And if you self-identify with that, automatically your expansion of self-identity becomes an expansion of your consciousness deeper and deeper into the consciousness field, till eventually you pass beyond the frequency walls of this simulated nonsense, and then you start to get amazing things happen. You start to get insights you didn't get before. You see things as you've not seen them before, and what you do is you manifest what you need. So for me, the most powerful energy is intent. What's my intent? This is what these guys are doing. They are using intent to manifest their reality. So they have everything and the rest of us have bugger all, or by comparison. It's intent. What is my intent? So if your intent is, I want to know what is going on, I want to know the true nature of me, and I will do what is necessary to get there, and you really mean it, then you start to draw to you, manifest to you what you need to go on that journey. And you manifest what you need to go on that journey. So synchronicity and bits of luck, not luck at all, will put you in the right place at the right time with the right people, that will give you the tools you need to do. I mean, it's like, if you believe, oh my God, there's going to be a financial crash and it's going to be blah, blah, blah. That's the plan. But if you believe that is going to affect you, it will. Because everything, it's like, when you got wet paint on your hands and anything you touch is paint every bloody where. That's what perception is. Everything is perception. Whatever your perception is, it will keep manifesting. A, quote, physical, holographic expression of that, of itself, which you'll call your life. And when people say, well, yeah, I get that to a bit, but if 95% of behavior and manifestation is coming out of the subconscious, how do I know what's in there? Right? Well, there's a simple answer. Look at your life. Look at your life. Look at the things you like and look at the things you don't like. Look at the things you would like to do as opposed to what's happening to you. And that is what's in your subconscious. And it's constantly manifesting your reality while you consciously think, well, I'm doing the yoga, I don't understand. So if you want to clear out the subconscious, then just look at your life and it will tell you what's in there. And you it's like, something would happen to you, 1960s, 1970s, and you've gone, no, I can't deal with that. Can't deal with that. I'm going to put it away. But that's in your subconscious, and it's creating your reality. It's affecting your reality. It's affecting your response. You might respond to someone in a real over the top fashion, and you know, a little while after you'll go, why did I react like that? Well, it's because something happened in 1970, and it's in your subconscious, and you're reacting to the person as if it's the person that was involved in 1970. This is what's happening all the time. So you look at your life and you can tell what's happening in your subconscious, and you clear it out. You can clear it out. And I'm not sitting here as the Buddha, you know, on a mountain. Bless you, my people. We're all working on this all the time. We're all doing it all the time. We just got to be aware of it.
Hopefully, we're working on it.
Well, yes. If we don't work on it, we're in trouble.
It's always such a pleasure.
Yeah, a real pleasure, Mordechaï. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yes.